October 14th, 1944. A quiet Saturday afternoon. The village of Herlingen, Germany. A black Mercedes limousine drove slowly down the street. It stopped in front of a modest house. The house belonged to Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, the most famous general in the German army, the hero of the Reich. Inside the house, Rommel was waiting. He was wearing his Afrika Korps jacket. He had put on his medals. He looked at his son Manfred and said, "They are here." Two generals stepped out of the car, Wilhelm Burgdorf and Ernst Meisel. They weren't there to discuss strategy. They weren't there to give him a new command. They were hitmen, sent by Adolf Hitler. They walked into the study. They closed the door. And they gave Rommel a choice that no soldier should ever have to make. Field Marshal, you have been accused of treason. The Führer gives you two options. Option 1. You face a people's court. You will be humiliated. Your family will be arrested. Your staff will be executed. Option 2. Burgdorf paused. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small glass ampule. Option 2. You take this poison. In 20 minutes, you will be dead. You will be given a state funeral with full military honors, and your wife and son will be protected. The Führer promises. Rommel looked at the poison. He looked at the window where his son was waiting. He looked at his uniform. He stood up. "I will take the poison," he said. This is the tragic, untold story of the death of Erwin Rommel, how the man who fought for Hitler was betrayed by him, the secret car ride that ended a legend, and the lie that was told to the world. To understand why Rommel was sitting in that house, we have to go back 3 months. July 17th, 1944, Normandy, France. Rommel was commanding the German defenses against the Allied invasion. He was desperate. He knew the war was lost. Patton was breaking out. The British were pushing. The German army was bleeding to death. Rommel got into his open-top staff car to visit the front lines. He told his driver, "Drive fast. The Jabos, fighter bombers, are everywhere." Suddenly, 2 British Spitfire fighters dropped out of the clouds. They saw the German car. They opened fire. Bullets tore up the road. The driver was hit. He lost control. The car spun off the road. It crashed into a ditch. Rommel was thrown out. He hit his head on a rock. His skull was fractured in 3 places. Shards of glass pierced his face. He was unconscious. His staff thought he was dead. They rushed him to a hospital. Miraculously, he survived. But his war was over. He was sent home to Germany, to Herlingen, to recover. And it was while he was lying in his bed, blinded by headaches, that the conspiracy began to close around him. July 20th, 1944, just 3 days after Rommel's accident. Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg walked into Hitler's briefing room in East Prussia. He placed a briefcase under the table. Inside was a bomb. Stauffenberg left the room. Minutes later, the bomb went off. 4 people died. The room was destroyed. But Hitler survived. He stumbled out of the smoke, his clothes torn, his eardrums burst, but alive. Hitler's revenge was immediate and terrible. He ordered the SS to find everyone involved. "I want them hanged like cattle," Hitler screamed. The Gestapo began torturing suspects. They arrested thousands, and under torture, names began to spill out. General Hofacker, General Stulpnagel, and then, one name that shocked the interrogators. Rommel. Was Rommel part of the plot? Historians still debate this. We know that the conspirators wanted Rommel on their side. They knew that if they killed Hitler, they needed a popular general to lead the country and make peace with the Americans. Rommel was the only man the Allies respected. Dr. Karl Strolin, one of the plotters, had visited Rommel earlier. He asked, Field Marshal, if the Führer is removed, will you support us? Rommel reportedly said, I am a soldier. I serve Germany. If it is necessary to save Germany, I will do my duty. He didn't agree to kill Hitler. Rommel hated assassination. He wanted Hitler arrested and put on trial. But to the Gestapo, arrest was the same as treason. The evidence against Rommel was thin, until General von Stülpnagel spoke. Stülpnagel was the military governor of Paris. He was a leader of the plot. After the bomb failed, Stülpnagel tried to commit suicide. He shot himself in the head. But he survived, blinded and brain damaged. The Gestapo dragged him out of the hospital. They put him on the torture table. In his delirium, Stülpnagel mentioned Rommel. Rommel knew. Rommel was with us. That was it. The report went to Hitler. Hitler read it in his bunker. He went pale. Rommel? My favorite general? The man I made a marshal? It cannot be. Hitler faced a huge problem. He couldn't just arrest Rommel. Rommel was a national hero. The German people loved him more than they loved the Nazi Party. If Hitler announced, Rommel is a traitor, the morale of the army would collapse. The people might revolt. So, Hitler came up with a devilish plan. A plan to kill Rommel without anyone knowing. He called Field Marshal Keitel, the man we saw hanged in the previous video. Keitel, Hitler said, Rommel must die, but it must look like an accident or an illness. He must die a hero. October 1944. Rommel was feeling better. His head was healing. His eye was opening. He was sitting in his garden in Herrlingen. He didn't know about the torture chambers in Berlin. He didn't know his name was on the death list. But he noticed strange things. Strange cars parked down the street. Men in trench coats watching his house. His phone line was clicking. He told his son Manfred, who was 15 years old, I think I am being watched. On October 7th, Rommel received a call from Berlin. Field Marshal Keitel wishes to speak with you. 2 generals will arrive on October 14th to discuss your future assignment. Rommel was suspicious. He told his friend, Captain Aldinger, they are not coming to give me a job. They are coming to put me on trial. Rommel prepared himself. He burned his private letters. He organized his papers. He told his wife, Lucy, whatever happens, you must stay strong. October 14th, 12 p.m. The black Mercedes pulled up. Generals Bergdorf and Mazel stepped out. Bergdorf was a brute, a hard-drinking, fanatical Nazi. Mazel was quiet, a bureaucrat. They refused food. They refused coffee. They asked to speak to Rommel alone. Rommel led them to his study. Manfred waited outside the door. He couldn't hear the words, but he could feel the tension. Inside the room, Bergdorf laid it out. He showed Rommel the confession from Stülpnagel. You are implicated, Bergdorf said. The Führer has lost faith in you. Rommel tried to defend himself. I did not plot to kill him. I wanted to save Germany. The war is lost. Bergdorf cut him off. The war is not the subject. Your loyalty is. Then the offer was made. If you face the People's Court, Roland Freisler, the hanging judge, will be the judge. You know what he does. He will scream at you. He will humiliate you. And then he will hang you with a piano wire. Your property will be confiscated. Your wife and son will be sent to a concentration camp. Rommel went pale. He loved his wife Lucy more than anything in the world. He wrote her a letter every single day of the war. The thought of her in a camp broke him. What is the alternative? Rommel asked. Bergdorf pointed to the pocket of his tunic. I have a capsule, cyanide. It works in 3 seconds. If you do this, the Führer guarantees no one will know. We will say you died of your wounds from the car crash. You will get a state funeral. You will be buried as a hero. Your pension will be paid to your wife. She and Manfred will not be touched. Rommel looked at the two men. He realized there was no escape. The house was surrounded by SS men in civilian clothes. If he tried to run, they would shoot him and his family. He stood up. I accept. Imagine being forced to choose between your life and your family's safety. This is the brutal reality of the Nazi regime. They ate their own. If you want to see more untold stories of World War II, hit that subscribe button. We are documenting the history that matters. Now, let's see the final goodbye. Rommel walked out of the study. He went upstairs to his wife's bedroom. Lucy was sitting there knitting. She looked up. She saw his face. It was gray, lifeless. What is it? She asked. Are they arresting you? Rommel sat down beside her. He took her hands. No, Lucy. In 15 minutes, I will be dead. Lucy, what? The Fuhrer has given me a choice, poison or the People's Court. I have chosen the poison. It is the only way to save you and Manfred. Lucy started to scream. She grabbed his arm. No! We will fight! We will run! Rommel shook his head. The house is surrounded. The phone is cut. If I fight, we all die. I have made the deal. They promised to keep you safe. He kissed her. It was a long kiss. Then he pulled away. I must go. They are waiting. He went to his son's room. Manfred was wearing his Luftwaffe helper uniform. Come with me, Rommel said. They walked into the garden. I have to tell you something, Rommel said. I am going to die today. By my own hand. Manfred started to cry. Father, no! Listen to me, Rommel ordered. Do not speak. Do not fight them. You must live. You must take care of your mother. Silence is your only weapon now. Rommel put on his leather greatcoat. He picked up his field marshal's baton. He walked out the front door. The two generals, Bergdorf and Mazel, were waiting by the car. They saluted him, a cynical, fake salute. The SS driver opened the door. Rommel got in the back seat. Bergdorf got in beside him. Mazel got in the front. The car pulled away. Manfred stood at the gate, watching his father disappear down the road. It was the last time he ever saw him. The car drove about 500 meters out of the village. It turned onto a quiet country lane. The driver stopped the car. Bergdorf ordered the driver and Mazel to get out. Walk away, he said. Leave us alone for 5 minutes. The driver walked down the road. He waited. It was a gray, overcast day. The wind was blowing through the trees. Inside the car, Rommel looked at the caps. He looked at the fields of Germany one last time. He thought about Africa. He thought about France. He thought about Lucy. He put the capsule in his mouth. He bit down. The cyanide hit his system instantly. His body convulsed. He gasped for air. And then he slumped forward. The desert fox was dead. 5 minutes later, Bergdorf opened the door. He waved to the driver. It is done, he said. The field marshal has suffered a heart attack. The body was taken to a hospital in Ulm. The doctors were ordered not to perform an autopsy. Do not touch him, the SS ordered. He died of a brain hemorrhage caused by his old injuries. The next day, the German radio announced the news. Field Marshal Rommel has died of his wounds, suffered in service to the fatherland. He died a hero's death. The Fuhrer has ordered a day of national mourning. It was a lie, a massive, state-sponsored lie. Hitler sent a telegram to Lucy Rommel. Accept my sincerest sympathy for the heavy loss you have suffered. Your husband's name will be forever linked with the heroic battles of North Africa. Imagine Lucy reading that telegram, knowing that the man who sent it was the man who killed her husband. But she had to stay silent. She had to play the part of the grieving widow. For Manfred's sake. The funeral was held in Ulm. It was spectacular. Thousands of soldiers, swastika flags, Beethoven's funeral march played. Hitler didn't attend. He was too afraid to show his face. Instead, he sent Field Marshal von Rundstedt to give the eulogy. Rundstedt stood over the coffin. He didn't know the truth. Or maybe he suspected. He praised Rommel's loyalty to Hitler. His heart belonged to the Führer, Rundstedt said. Lucy sat in the front row. Under her black veil, she was staring at the Nazi officials with pure hatred. Manfred sat beside her. They were surrounded by the murderers of their father. And they had to accept their condolences. The lie held for 6 months, but in April 1945, the war ended. The Americans captured General Bergdorf. Well, actually, Bergdorf committed suicide in Hitler's bunker. But they captured General Meisel, and they captured the driver. Under interrogation, the story came out. Meisel confessed. "We drove him to the woods. We gave him the poison." When the news broke, the German people were shocked. Their hero hadn't died of wounds. He was murdered by Hitler. It destroyed the last shred of respect anyone had for the Nazi regime. It proved that Hitler was a madman who would eat his own children. Erwin Rommel was a complex figure. He fought for a regime that committed terrible crimes. He was Hitler's favorite general for years. But in the end, he became a victim of the monster he served. His death wasn't heroic in the traditional sense. He didn't die with a gun in his hand. He died sitting in the backseat of a car, swallowing a pill to save his family. But that act, that sacrifice, showed a different kind of courage. The courage of a father. Today in Herrlingen, there is a simple grave. It doesn't have a giant swastika. It just says, Erwin Rommel. And sometimes, veterans from both sides, German and American, visit the grave together to pay respects to the soldier who was forced to die by his own commander-in-chief. Rommel chose suicide to save his family. Do you think he made the right choice? Or should he have faced the trial and exposed Hitler? It's a tough question. Let me know what you would have done in the comments. And if you want to see the story of how General Patton tried to save the horses of Europe, click this video right here. Thanks for watching.